Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for stopping in for another episode. Hope all of my friends and followers who went to the National last week are home safely, and I trust that you had an amazing time. I've been enjoying watching all of your content on your pickups and your thoughts on the show. I was off on vacation last week, but did not attend the National. Instead, Mrs. Shoebox Legends and I headed up to the coast of Maine to just disconnect and relax for a few days, get away from work and even the hobby and the internet and computers and just really everything in general. So it was a much needed break, felt incredible. But I want to get back at it today. I have some cards that have come in while I've been buying substantially less cardboard than I have in the past. I've still had some trickling in. And we're going to start with the card that you see up in the background, or a version of it anyway, the 2019 Topps Aaron Judge. Great image on that card. I love it. And in the past, prior videos here, we've looked at the gold refractor from Topps Chrome, numbered to 50 that you see on the left there. And then just to the right of it, the Topps black parallel. And recently I was able to add another card completing the trifecta of kind of my favorite modern parallels for that particular card. Got the Independence Day from the Topps flagship product. This was, of course, just the second year that they did Independence Day. That was kicked off in 2018, and this is, of course, a 2019. I love the design this year. The first 2 years were great. After that, things went south for a few years with this parallel, although it did continue on in its same format, which I think is really important. And then in the last couple of years, the design has been great as well, but love these 2019s, and you just do not see these often. Those of you that collect these for your player or your team will know they are very, very difficult to come by. Was able to win this one at open auction. The seller put it up with a starting bid of like $150, which honestly, it probably scared a lot of people away, which was at least my hope anyway. But me and one other person bid on it, and I think I got it for like $152 or something like that, just barely over the opening bid. Numbered to 76, as these have been every year now for 7 or 8 years running, and just absolutely love that parallel. So hoping to add more of those to my collection in the future, Aaron Judge or otherwise, but that trio there looks really great. Love Aaron Judge, and he is not getting easier to collect, and that's also the case for the guy that we'll close out today's video with. But before we get to that, here's a quick one. This came in from my buddy Scott, my best friend and yours, over at Reindeer Studios, keeping my run intact, my complete set run of the Marker Doodle Monday cards that he began last year and continued into this year with this incredible Shoeless Joe Jackson. And I think the original artwork for this one went to Tony over at Southern Collector, but very happy to have one of the copies of the card. Copy 14 of 50. I kind of snoozed on this one and I was a little bit panicked that it might be sold out, but got it and kept my set intact. And I believe, sadly, that may be a complete set now forever, because Scott did inform me that going forward he will not be able to make the Marker Doodle Monday cards, I think due to some copyright issues and MLB kind of giving him a hard time. But I'm very grateful that I was able to support Scott during the time that he was making these, and that I have what has to be one of the few complete runs of these out there in existence. And I've mentioned this before with respect to Shoeless Joe, but most of us are priced out of getting a playing era card of this man. So getting something like this that looks really, really neat and did not break the bank is a great opportunity to kind of add his important personality to your collection, if you're somebody who kind of views your collection like a history of the sport like I do. So pumped to have that. Next up, I have two, I guess, semi-vintage cards, or vintage with an asterisk, because these are buyback cards. And I'm sure if you've been by this channel before, you're probably aware that I'm somewhat obsessed with these twice pack issued beauties. And I want to get back to showing some of them off here. And I have two singles that I've been able to win, I would say within the last month. And the first one here, I was just so pumped to get, from 1976 Topps originally, and then reissued as a individually wrapped box topper in 2025 Topps Heritage earlier this summer. This is the Bubblegum Championship card featuring Kurt Bavacqua. Loved. I have always wondered if a version of this existed as a buyback. I'm not sure it ever did until now, but of course these 76 originals are being stamped and reissued as part of Topps Heritage, and that program, since this year's set, pays tribute to that original 76 release 50 years later. And this card has, of course, many of you know, the bracket on the back for the Bubblegum Championship. I love the cartoon bubbles. Just a perfect, quirky, awesome card. And I thought initially this would, without a doubt, go into my buyback Franken set in slot 564, because that's kind of an obscure card number, and I couldn't imagine that I had a better buyback than this already in the binder. But as luck would have it, I have the 1969 Topps Gil Hodges in buyback format in this exact slot. And I gotta stick with the Hodges, just all the history behind that card. And of course, 1969 being the Miracle Mets season. As much as I love this Kurt Bavacqua, I can't bump that Hodges out of the binder. But I do have a place in mind for this very special buyback. So it'll still fit beautifully into my collection as part of a project that I have not yet unveiled here on the channel. The other buyback features a much more notable name, a Hall of Famer, in fact, and it's a very little known buyback program. I wasn't even that familiar with it until I ran across this card, to be honest with you, but I've done a little bit of research on it. It was from the 2021 Topps Heritage release. They did a whole series of Roberto Clemente buybacks, and I found this one online. Ended up going back and forth with the seller and was able to secure it for a price that I thought was, very reasonable. Buybacks of players of the ilk of, Roberto Clemente just don't come around that often. I think this is maybe my fourth total buyback now that features Clemente in the 10 plus years that I've been doing this. And of course, what's cool about this one, it is the 1962 NL batting leaders card. So this represents the 1961 batting championship that Clemente achieved, which was the first batting title in his career, which is pretty awesome. He did have a few more, or a few more later in the decade, but I believe 61 is the first time that he paced the National League. As we can see on the back, he hit 351 in 1961 for the Pirates. And this one will be going into the buyback Franken set at slot 52. The seller was kind enough to ship it in this one-touch magnetic, which I appreciate and will certainly repurpose. But this card, after today's video, is going right into the Franken set binder. And it's very obvious, you can tell that this is a Heritage buyback because of the giant stamp here. And it's a little tough to make out, but it says Clemente. It's got his number 21 and then the great one across the bottom there. I wasn't able to verify this on Baseball Cardpedia, but a few other sites did reference that, the insertion ratio for these buybacks in 2021 Topps Heritage was insane. Something like 1 in 46,000 packs, if you can believe that. And I certainly do believe it because I have plenty of saved searches and I'm always scouring the internet for buyback cards. And I don't recall seeing any of these over the last few years. And I can't find a single other one for sale at any price point as far as this buyback program goes. So happy to bring this home. This will be a great addition to the binder and really spruce up the set. And we've got 3 names along the bottom that are kind of well known in the hobby, at least anyway, as well. In Veda Pinson, Ken Boyer, and of course, Wally Moon's Epic Unibrow. So this one is a really, really cool card for so many reasons. I know these aren't for everybody. I know some view the, stamping of a vintage card as like blasphemy, but there are millions of, not millions, but tens of thousands of copies, I'm sure, if not more, of this card floating around out there. And I don't mind in the least that they did something to kind of elevate this one, make it special, and issue it for a second time for some lucky collector to pull in their hobby box, presumably of 2021 Topps Heritage Baseball. And then we're going to go back and close it out here with, I guess, a modern, or maybe it's even an ultra-modern card, or two, for that matter, that are both graded. And we're going to start with a 2024 card. And this is one that I've been after a version of for quite a while, even though it's a player I don't collect that much. And I don't know that I've really ever featured him on the channel, but I wanted this card in particular. So this is the Topps Black Chris Sale from 2024, Topps flagship. Can't say enough good things about the black or the Independence Day parallels. Love those classic flagship, non-chrome numbered cards that have long history, or at least relatively long in today's hobby. And this one I really wanted because, a couple reasons. The image is fantastic. That is, exactly how it would look if you were standing in the batter's box and you had big, tall Chris Sale bearing down on you and hurling a fastball towards you. But the most important reason I wanted this, he had a season for the ages, and maybe the best season of his career last year for Atlanta at age 35. And I love those kind of like comeback stories. He won the pitching triple crown for the National League, paced the league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts, and I think did quite a bit to kind of improve his odds at eventual enshrinement. But for me, I wanted the card just to represent the season that he had. He had never won a Cy Young in his entire esteemed career up until last year, and he got it done at age 35 in that Triple Crown season. For that reason, I think this is a really special parallel and one that kind of fits in my collection, even though I'm not a big Chris Sale collector. So fan of big seasons, big feats, and finding rare cards to represent those. And as far as that quest goes, this is a perfect fit, and it was not expensive either. If memory serves, I think I paid maybe around $40 for this, already graded in a fine 9, which is not an easy grade for a Topps Black card either. And then the last card to close it out kind of has a couple of cards to go with it or some thoughts. But I picked up, I've had Shohei Otani on the mind, and it's not hard to really understand why. I try to collect some of the best players from the game from all eras. And if there's, any doubt in recent years that he was a generational great, I think he's basically erased that at this point. He's gotten back to doing a little bit of pitching this year. We'll see if that continues. I know that could be up in the air, but regardless, right up near the top of the leaderboards again for all of the power numbers, playing on that powerhouse LA team. Certainly, I would say the front runner or right in the mix for another MVP award this season. And he's just becoming somebody who I think is, has already kind of made his name for good in the history of this game. Barring some kind of crazy controversy, I don't see him ever falling out of favor. And when you add in, the success that he's had, the championship now as well, all the hardware, the global popularity, the uniqueness of being a two-way player. There are just so many things that have caused me to be thinking more and more about Otani, even though his cards are incredibly expensive, but they are for a reason, and I don't know that they're ever not going to be, or that waiting it out is going to make sense. So I've been trying to land a couple of, not crazy, but nicer Otani cards. And I was able to, I should say, pick up this one at long last. This is the 2019 Topps Chrome Sapphire Edition Otani, card number 600, which is the pitching card. Of course, he famously got 2 cards in the 2019 Topps flagship set, which I love. That reminds me of like Ted Williams in the 50s. Very few players that have been in the flagship Topps checklist twice with actual base cards, not checklists or subsets or anything like that. Just love that concept. Of course, we have the added bonus of these being rookie cup cards as well in 2019. And the best part about this one, or the reason I've been seeking it out, is I already had the card number 250, the batting card from Topps Chrome Sapphire in a PSA 9. And now I have both cards in a fine 9, a beautiful duo. These are not crazy expensive. I try to share prices here, not to brag, but I just think it's an important part of the hobby. And I will say this card on the right, I just got it within the last couple weeks, and I think I paid $120 or $125 for it. So, nothing Otani is going to be cheap, but I do feel that's pretty good value given that these are somewhat limited rookie cup cards from a desirable brand. And just happy to have the duo together at last. These look great. And what's cool is having this pair in Topps Chrome Sapphire allows me to get rid of some other cards in my collection. So these aren't numbered, but the general consensus with Sapphire is that 2019 had a print run of right around 1,000. So they're, plentiful cards, but they're not easy cards either, especially, in a higher grade or just finding them in general graded at all. Not necessarily easy. But now that I have these two with an approximate print run of 1,000, I have 2 cards that I'll be listing at open auction and I'll be able to get rid of. And that is, I have the Topps Gold of the batting card in an SGC 9. And then I've got the rainbow foil parallel of the pitching card in a PSA 9. Now, I never managed to get the matching card to go with either of these. So this kind of mismatch, it just bothers me, and these aren't really a fit in my collection anymore. And I certainly don't need them now that I have that Sapphire pair complete. So this is kind of an example of how I keep my collection rolling. And in addition to buying cards, I'm always looking at opportunities to shed cards that don't make as much sense anymore, just to kind of offset some of the cost of the cards that I'm bringing in. And who knows, I haven't, looked at completed prices on these. I'm just going to let them both rip at 99 cents each and kind of let the chips fall where they may. But I wouldn't be surprised if, this pair combined paid for or came close to paying for the new card that I just picked up, the pitching card in Topps Chrome Sapphire. So just an example of how I kind of have a revolving door around here just to keep things rolling. And then just to close out the video, just because it's kind of neat, and I ran across it when I was taking the batting card out, but I also have his teammate, Mike Trout, from 2019 Sapphire, also in a PSA 9, which is pretty cool because this was an MVP year for Mike Trout, what is likely to be his last MVP as well. So great trio there, and happy to have that Otani duo complete at last. Can check that off, get rid of those other two cards that aren't really a fit anymore, and kind of condense down and tidy up the collection a little bit. So I'm going to break here. I can't believe I went 16 minutes, but again, it's been a very busy season. Just wanted to get back at it. If I am someone who usually watches your content and comments, please know that if you haven't seen me around, it is me, not you. I've just had very little time for YouTube lately, but I hope to be back at it soon. I've seen so many of you creating amazing content and seen it coming across my feed, and I have a giant backlog to catch up on. So if you are a content creator, you'll be seeing me in your comments soon. To everybody else, I appreciate you stopping by. I'll be back soon with some more content. And until then, I hope you all enjoy the hobby. Take care.